What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about Opendoor. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what is really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Opendoor is flat at the time of doing this video. 710 the low, 742 the high, and 12.09 million shares being traded. So fairly low volume. So when it comes down to this push lower, that did happen with a lot of stocks. And that largely is because of some updates coming from Japan associated to their quake. But I think overall, it kind of speaks volumes on how jittery the market truly is. Even looking on some of the transactions on the secondary market is very evenly divided. So everything with a bid is a sell, everything with a ask is a buy. So the market is very uncertain. And the reason why the market is somewhat jittery is because potentially this is going to be the first time that we do get a cut where the market isn't 100% confident. And what I mean by that is right now there's a 89.9% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut for the upcoming meeting on Wednesday. And so in general, previous cuts, we've been at 100% well in advance, weeks before. And so this is now the first time the market is somewhat leaning towards, yes, it makes sense, but there's still a certain level of hesitation. And this is why you're seeing a lot of just very low volume and the market being very, very jittery. Even though there really hasn't been that much in kind of macro data today, Trump really hasn't said anything crazy or speculative. So it is just, like I said, people assuming what is going to be coming for this week. Plus, aside from that, what is going to be coming over for data points tomorrow. So we have ADP employment, so that one's a big one, and then JOLT numbers. When it comes down to Opendoor, though, there really hasn't been anything. So no news, no SEC filings, no speculative topics even on social media. So Kaz has been really just putting his head down and working. So I think that's kind of a good thing, very welcomed. And as I mentioned, I think he's trying to rebrand Opendoor because I think in the past, like a lot of people saw Opendoor as a meme, as a cult. As much as a lot of people like that, I think generally management is trying to pivot to have it be seen as like a true credible company. I know that sounds extremely stupid, but honestly, I think that is exactly what needs to happen at this stage in the game. For those of you that have always wondered, why is blah, blah, blah X stock always heavily shorted? Typically, shorts love to follow stocks that have a high retail presence, and that is Opendoor. Institutions are obviously increasing at a pretty rapid rate, but still, majority of Opendoor, of their actual outstanding share count, is held by retail. So at the end of the day, that's why shorts are doing what they have been doing. Right now, though, shorts are increasing about 257,000 shares. 13.63% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 106 million shares overall being shorted. As I kind of mentioned on my weekend video for Opendoor, there is a clear sign of some manipulation and potentially even naked shorting happening behind the scenes, because shares on loan, it does show 75.69 million, but there is 106 million shares being shorted. So there's more shares being shorted than on loan. So it's definitely something doesn't really add up for that. When it comes down to the options though, 1.7 million in calls, 313,000 in puts, 51% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. And so given the fact that we are not really seeing that much volume so far today, doesn't jive with at least the 12 million, it is fair to assume that it's algorithmic trading as per usual. That's kind of the main cause, what is really suppressing Opendoor and many stocks as well. So at the end of the day, you do see a certain level of optimism based on this. Again, 51% of all the options being done so far are bullish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you do see a consensus for it to be roughly around 8. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 650. So a little bit more upside given where we are at right now. Nothing really crazy for the dark pool. You see a lot of hold numbers, and that usually is a sign that it's linked to hedge funds. So hedge funds are a little bit more active today, but still in comparison to what normally happens with Opendoor, this is rather quiet. And then when it comes down to the technicals with it right now at 713, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So 747 is going to be that next strong target. Kind of bounced off of that general area for the high today. So the high so far has been 742. Even though a lot of stocks are kind of pushing a little bit lower and consolidating, I wouldn't really worry so much just yet, because all it takes is just one tweet and things get hyped up again. But as far as right now, 585 is going to be the next strong support. And this is just obviously given how volatile Opendoor is. This is why you see very wide gaps based on the fib levels. And this is the 1-day chart. So these are very, very strong support and resistance points. Moving on from here though, looking on the actual chart itself, it's still consolidating. It recently did bounce off that 50-day moving average, and whenever a stock kind of bounces off of a strong support or resistance, usually you see some level of consolidation. So right now it is below that 10-day moving average. So that definitely needs to, ideally, best case scenario, it closes above that today. And so that is sitting at 738. When it comes down to just looking at the stochastic RSI, it is somewhat neutral. So it's around 63. If it does, for instance, try again at that 50-day moving average, and so that is currently at 763, give or take, then you'll see it get overbought. So nothing really crazy. Stocks can kind of stay overbought for a long period of time, but there really hasn't been that much in articles really coming out associated to Opendoor. Still, no new analyst ratings. Last one was on November the 12th. So I think now is just the time that Opendoor management just needs to execute. They need to kind of fulfill a lot of their promises, what they kind of let the Wall Street know is going to happen, and they just need to continue to be a disruptor. And this is why probably management just has their head down, not really saying anything speculative in nature, and they're just getting the job done. So I think that's a pretty good thing. Trump did say this morning that he's going to be really kind of helping AI in the foreseeable future. So that as well could really help Opendoor, but still, I feel like Opendoor needs to really just show that consumers are out there spending the money, making the money, and a 25 basis point cut as well could just overall help with that sentiment. So let me know your thoughts on Opendoor. Are you buying? Are you selling? Like, what's your general thoughts on Opendoor? And then one final thing though, if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, pop over to my Patreon. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.